The history of the Philippines is marked by moments of great political change. Two pivotal documents reflect these shifts, the 1973 Constitution and the 1987 Constitution. One represents an era of control, while the other stands as a symbol of freedom and democracy.
The proclamation of martial law is not a military takeover. I, as your duly elected President of the Republic, use this power which may be implemented by the military authorities, but still is a power embodied in the Constitution to protect the Republic of the Philippines and our democracy.
The 1973 Constitution was born under the shadow of martial law declared by President Ferdinand Marcos. This document brings significant changes to the Philippine government, laying a foundation for a more centralized power under Marcos. The key features of the 1973 Constitution include, first, the shift from presidential system to a parliamentary system with an executive power given to a prime minister. And then second, a unicameral legislative body called the Batasang Pambansa, a consolidating legislative power. Third, the provision allowing the indefinite extension of martial law, cementing the Marcos control over the country.
When a handful of drunken Marcos supporters set up court for a few days at the Manila Hotel, the military, as a reflex action, brought up artillery. I could have drowned their revels in its thunder and still have been widely applauded for it. Instead, I talked them out of their silliness. We are now pursuing economic policies to allow the majority of the Filipinos the opportunity to prosper rather than to extend more privileges to a small minority to allow them to become richer. We are withdrawing government from commercial activities, cognizant of the need for government to devote its fiscal and human resources to problems of higher social priority, and admitting that private enterprise has greater competence and built-in drives.
After years of authoritarian rule, the Filipino rose up in a peaceful revolution in 1986, toppling the Marcos dictatorship. This led to a creation of a new constitution in 1987, crafted to restore democracy and protect the freedom of every Filipino.
Again, let me reconfirm our support, both for what the UN at its best stands for, the peace, freedom, dignity, and partnership of mankind. But let me also serve warning to those denied freedom and dignity. Don't look beyond yourselves to find them. People must be masters of their own fate. The Filipino people have known and been grateful for liberation at the hands of others.
The 1987 Constitution, often called the Freedom Constitution, emphasized the return to a democratic principle. The presidential system was restored, along with a bicameral Congress consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives. A strong Bill of Rights guaranteed fundamental freedoms such as freedom of speech, the press, and peaceful assembly. Limits on martial law powers were introduced, requiring congressional approval and judicial reviews for any declaration of martial law. Independent constitutions such as the Commission of Human Rights and the Office of Ombudsman were established to hold Philippine government officials accountable.
In comparing the two constitutions, we see a clear shift in the nation's governance. In the 1973 Constitution concentrated power in the hands of the President, while the 1987 Constitution dispersed power, ensuring checks and balances through independent institutions. Under the 1973 Constitution, the parliamentary system and martial law allowed Marcos to extend his rule and suppress civil liberties.
For your country!
The 1987 Constitution earned the title of Freedom Constitution because it symbolizes the Filipino people's triumph over the dictatorship and their reclamation of democracy. It restored free elections, protected civil liberties, and gave people a greater voice in governance. The 1973 Constitution will always be remembered as the foundation of the dictatorship.
While the 1987 Constitution stands as the testament to the power of the people, today it continues to safeguard the freedom of Filipinos who fought so hard to win.
Narito po tayo ngayon sa bahay ni Mr. Haji Amin Mapandi para tanungin kung ano ang mga karanasan niya sa martial law noong 1972. So, ano po ang ginagawa ninyo noong inideklara ang martial law?
Kumakadang kami sa walay, kapatulog kami.
Nung nalaman niyo yung mga balitan na martial law?
Oo.
Paano po nagbago ang inyong buhay nang dahil sa martial law?
Natin umaganda kami sa walay, kada kapakawiyagan.
Tsaka, nasan po yung mga sundalo noon?
Sa sipwin nila.
Malapit lang po sa bahay niyo?
Oo. Nag-iso mga sundalo na pumuno nila sa mga aso. Pwede ba nilang sumaman?
Pero wala po silang pinapatay ng mga tao sa inyo?
Wala. Ito pumuno nila na sa mga aso. Timba nila.
So, ano pang pinakamahirap na karanasan ninyo sa martial law?
So, bambaoy ka.
Paano po kayo kumakain nun?
So, kapamangan niya.
Nanghihing kayo sa mga kasamahan nyo?
Sa mga lepera.
So, ano pong mga aral na natutunan nyo mula sa martial law?
Sa oras ito na may ito ako panidin, kawatao ka.
At kailangan nyo maging matatag, no? Kasi sobrang bata nyo pa. At yun, mahirap yung martial law sa pinagay.
Mahirap yung martial law, ay matagal na yung napalitan ni Marcos.
Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
This has been a documentary presentation on the 1973 and 1987 Constitutions of the Philippines.